Hello everyone, welcome to another video of FFL 24/7. In today's video, we are going to be doing a technical analysis of another stock, and the stock we are going to be taking a look at today is called NIO. NIO stock, if you guys are not familiar, so they are a Chinese EV maker. So they make like electric cars, so similar to Tesla, so if you want to call them. So they are considered some kind of a competitor to Tesla, in at least in China. So there is a lot of interest going on in NIO stock because it has been taking a lot of beating over the last few months, as you guys can also evidently see in the chart. So this is obviously the horrible looking crash that we saw on the NIO chart. So we are going to be doing a technical analysis of this chart because there are some critical things and warnings I want to point out to you guys. So if you guys are holding NIO stock, or if you're planning to buy into NIO stock, so I would definitely advise to watch out for these updates that I want to share with you guys. So let me pull up some information. So here, I know there is a lot going on in this chart because there is actually a lot going on in NIO chart. So what I want you guys to focus on is around this area at the bottom. So this is obviously the top that we saw around $63, that a lot of euphoria and a lot of excitement was coming back to the NIO stock, and there were a lot of warnings coming in that this growth might not be sustainable because this was a absolute exponential growth that we saw from around April 2020 so all the way to January 2021. So this is almost was over a span of almost 8 months. NIO just went ballistic, but that was where it stopped out. So the 63 was the peak that we saw back in February 21, and since then it has been on a very consistent and long-term downtrend. So there has been consistent selling going on in NIO stock. So there are a lot of reasons, because in China NIO is now not the only EV producer, so there are a lot of new companies also producing, and also Tesla is marking their inventory, like marking their cars at a very competitive prices also in China. So definitely people have a lot of other options to choose from, but there is a lot of interest in NIO stock from the retail side. So that is why we are doing this technical analysis, because we have seen some very critical things happening. So I want you guys to focus on this area around here. So because this is what is defining the recent price action that started from around June 2023 to date till January 2024. Let me zoom into this area because I want to show you guys what I have been seeing. So do you guys see these three circles that I have highlighted around here? So this area of $7 was supposed to be a very critical level of support for NIO to hold. But we eventually, as you guys can clearly see, we did not hold it, and we just broke down below on January 16, 2024. So we just sliced through this strong support of $7, and like it just acted as like nothing, like a paper thin wall of support. So we saw a huge sell-off, and that has been accompanied by actually increasing volume. So, and looks like the price is heading towards $5. So $5 is going to be our next major psychological support level. So it is like a whole number and also a psychological support. And not just that, it has been evidently been a very strong resistance in the past, back in January 2020. So this is why we are basing our theory that the next level of psychological and strong support is going to be $5. Again, so if you guys have watched my previous analysis of NIO, so I was warning people a lot around here in this area on around the 28th of December, just before end of the year. So we were actually tracking this level of $9.57 very closely, because this was a very critical level for NIO to break out of above. So, and as you guys can clearly see in this circle, how beautifully this 9.57 acted as a resistance, and we were not able to break above it. And also not just that, if you guys see this blue line, this is the 200-day moving average, and that is a very critical moving average for almost any of the stock. And so this was acting as a very strong resistance in this area around $9.5, guys, because 9.5 was a very strong resistance for three reasons. Because this one, it has historically been a very strong resistance in the past. As you guys can clearly see, we have bounced quite a few times from this level. So it used to act as a support, but now it has been acting as a resistance. And not just that, if you guys notice, and around here, so there was a little bit of gap around here at the exact same level of 9.5. So that has been acting as a strong resistance. And in addition to that, this 200 days moving average also provided a very strong resistance. So this was a critical level for investors and traders and sellers to maybe sell out of the stock, because if we were able to break above this, we were obviously going to need a lot of volume to break above this resistance, but that obviously did not happen. and that is why we saw this crash happening. And again, this $7 did not act as a strong support, guide that we were watching. So now NIO is kind of technically a weakening stock, and it is in a technical downtrend pattern. And the next level of hope we are watching is $5, because $5 is a critical psychological and historical support, because if we do not hold $5, then the next price target I am looking at is around this level of 2.5. So 2.5 is not just another psychological number, it is also acting as a bottom of the previous price action that we saw back in 2020 March to January 2020 to March 2020. So this has historically been also a very critical and very strong support in the past. So at $2.5, there is a lot of hope, because there is a hope of actually a turnaround, because there are a lot of heavy investors and buyers going to be waiting at that level if we even get there. Because first we have to see how $5 of support is going to act. But personally, to me, looking like a NIO is technically a weakening stock, and the earnings that they are going to be announcing on March 21st 2024 is going to play a very critical role. Because if the earnings are not positive, then I have a strong feeling that we are going to break below this $5 level of support and head towards the $2.5. That will be our price target of the bearish price action. So on the bullish side, so slowly the positive news have started coming in, because if you guys have been following the news, so they recently announced that January was one of their best quarters. So they did around 10,000 vehicle deliveries, 10,000 cars they produced and delivered to their customers in January 2024. So this January has been a very good month for them for the last few years. So this is a little bit of hope that is coming back into the stock. But again, we have to keep in mind the competition is building very heavily in China on the EV car producers, because there are a lot of companies that are starting producing EVs. So NIO is kind of feeling the crunch of the pressure, because they have to cut their prices. They are cutting back into their profit margins. So that is actually reflecting in their stock price action, and that is why we are suffering. So my piece of advice and a technical trading analysis tips, if you guys have not liked and subscribed to the channel, guys, I would please request you to do a like and subscribe, so you can keep getting our latest updates on all the technical analysis we have been doing on NIO stock and so many other stocks and also crypto. So again, to sum this up, of the technical analysis and the trading tip that I would like to advise is, because we have to watch this $5 level of support, and also we need to keep a strong eye on the volume, because if you notice, we are seeing a sell-off and we are seeing an increasing we are seeing a consistent volume as well that is backing up this sell-off. So even today it was like a wick, but the volume was quite decent, and it was a bearish volume that we saw. So sell-off has been happening, and this is reflecting that we are at least going to test this $5 level of support maybe in the coming few days. And earnings in March are going to be very critical. We are still a month and a half apart, but it all depends on how the company is doing well, and that is obviously going to be reflecting in terms of the deliveries that they are doing for the customers, and how are they pricing their cars. Because if obviously the investors, they see they're cutting down the prices of the EVs, that is obviously going to cut down in their profit margins, and that is not going to reflect badly in NIO stock. And that is where I see the $2.5 is going to be our next critical level of support if we break below $5. And at $2.5 we can expect some heavy buyers to step in. And on the bullish side, so this $7 is now going to act as a very strong resistance for us to break. So this is where I see that we are going to be stopped out. So what I am expecting is we may be seeing some kind of bullish price action, because if you look at the RSI at the bottom, RSI has been oversold a little bit. So speaking in terms of the RSI, there is a bounce and relief rally expected, because this RSI is a lot oversold. But I am expecting we are going to be stopped out at $7, and we will be testing back this $5 level of support, and that may coincide with the earnings that are coming back in March. And again, the earnings are obviously going to decide if we hold this $5 support or not. So what I am thinking is we may be doing some kind of sideways or tracking, because obviously everyone is going to be watching the earnings on March 21st, and that this is where I think the price action is going to stay between $5 and $7, and earnings are going to decide if we break above $7 or break below $5. If we break below $5, then $2.5 is going to be our next price bearish price target, and on the bullish side, if we break above $7, then again we need to test this a $9.5 level of resistance, because there is a gap there. That gap was supposed to be filled, but we failed at around here on 29th of December. So that is all I quickly wanted to share with you guys about NIO stock. If you guys like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.